Hello everyone. So this is probably the last video, if I can get it all done in one, for the regular part of the peony arrangement that I showed with the buds and everything. I might do a few more with a different style of a peony that is made from scalloping, or possibly we could do one where we paint it. But for the main part of the arrangement, we've got our leaves, we've got our main flowers, and now we have our we're going to start doing our buds. So the large bud, it's going to be one that actually uses a petal color. This petal color is pretty cool. It's a beautiful color. It's actually where is it? It's this guy here. It's like this salmon coral matte color lined one. It's a 779 FM, and I think it's Toho, not sure. Based on the number, I think so. I got it from Beaded. And they normally have pretty good deals when you sign up for them. So a big old bag of it. So I did that one. And then the smaller the smaller bud is just going to be all green. And I used a lighter green. So we'll talk about that later. We're going to use a sort of cupping technique that's really a handy one to use. It's, in every book, when I first started doing these, I kind of was doing a lot, making stuff up as I went. And I thought I was like just cool as can be, because I was like figured out how to do this. I was like, well, what else are you gonna do, right? Later on I was like, oh yeah, that's what everyone does to make these round things. So it's a cool, fun little thing to make any buds of any kind, to make olives, grapes, anything like that shape. This one's obviously gotten a little mushed, and that's okay. I don't mind that, actually. Don't hate it. Okay. So we're going to start with the larger bud. Now I'm going to try to do, again, a different color because I have all these different pinks going on and I want to use them in an arrangement. So I'm going to do it in this color. I already did some. It's kind of hard to see that it's different. Well, maybe let's see. I can get this one out. Here it is in the tube. And so this is actually, I think I have it written on another tube. I think it's 240. What did I put? 241F, as in Frank, as in frosted, actually. So this is light topaz mauve, it says. It's not really, I don't know about that description. But anyhow, it looks more like a coral in the inside. Basically, it looks like this one here, except that here it has like a clear matte glass, and this is a topaz matte glass, so it gets a little deeper and a little bit darker. And so this is a pretty nice one too. So I'm going to do the bud we're doing today in this one, which looks like this. So just slightly darker because I'm going to use them in the same arrangement. I want to have a little variety going on. You can do them all in the same color. You could do it same as your peony. That's fine. So this is obviously slightly different than the two peonies I did. Even the darker one that's from later, right? I did this one is the one we made, and so I did a little darker one to go with it. And now I'm going to do an even slightly darker one. Up to you. If you want to go different colors, however you want to do it. So let's start with this guy. And so we're going to start with the inside. Now, first thing I want you to notice about this is these are open. I want them to kind of look a little like they're opening, like it's getting close to opening. So I wanted something to be in the inside there. So what's in the inside is basically this guy, but in the petal color. So I made one of those in the inside. And then, so the thing is, we're going to start with this one because if you're learning how to do this, this is a good time to learn it because you're not going to really see it. It's going to be all smushed in there. Because you're going to kind of close it up like that, and then it's going to be inside there just so it doesn't look like it's empty in there, because that'd be weird. But you're not really seeing it too much. So if it's not perfect, that's okay. So that's why we're doing this one first, because the next one, obviously, you're going to see it. But again, if it gets a little misshapen there too, that's okay too. That's okay. Because we want it to look like kind of like a bud that, it's kind of in transition, because buds are in transition. Okay, so what do we have for this one? Let's start with that inner kernel thing there, that inner blob. I want to call it egg-shaped thing, almost. Okay, it's 103 degrees here today, so I have actually air conditioning going full blast and a little fan. So hopefully that's not making things super hard to hear. But even with the air conditioning, it's still hot, at least on this side of the house. Now, so hopefully you can hear me through that. I will try to speak more clearly than usual. Okay, let's get started. So I have these beads already rolled up onto this. I actually found the perfect color, right? Obviously, my coral. para wire, 24 gauge. But I'm kind of hoarding this. I get weird when I only have one left and it's hard to find it. I start like hoarding it. It's like, when else would I use it? But for the, you know what I mean? But still, I'm like, but I never know. There might be something I need it for later. So can I use something else? So I'm using rose. Not rose gold. The color is actually rose. It's hard to see it on here, but it's a true pink. It's not a pink gold. It's like pink. Oh, you can kind of see it. I used it on these. You can kind of see it on the end here. So this is the Artistic Wire Rose. Also hard to find, but for some reason at some point I found it and bought like four of these of it. And then I don't use it that much. So it's actually like a real pink. It's not a pink gold. And so I actually wanted that. At first I used a copper because, again, this is something valid to talk about, or that I want to talk about, because I wanted this bead can tend to go very orange in that direction, more salmon, very orangey salmon. And so I wanted to bring out more of a pink in it because it has the pink in it also. So I'm using the pink wire because that does make it appear slightly pinker, right? That brings out more of the pink in the bead. So I purposely chose that, and I think it still looks good on that seam, and we're good to go. Okay, so let's figure out how we did this. So for the first one, I did make that PDF for the group, so hopefully, now you'll kind of know all the parts that are coming up. Okay, let's get untangled. Come on now. There we go. So we're going to make, for the inside, we're going to do a 1/2 inch basic frame, round bottom, round top, and very cupped. Because we're going to have them attached. We do not, again, make sure we do not chop off the top wire, because we're going to use those to link things up. Okay, 1/2 inch. So we're going to cut off, reading glasses down. Let's go. Okay, 1/2 inch, right about there. Give yourself a little bit up here, maybe 3 inches or so. And we're going to reduce to maybe 1 wire. I don't really keep track of that, but this is a pretty thick wire. So maybe we'll reduce to 1. I don't know. I'm sure there's some structural meaning for that. I just tend to always leave it at 2 as kind of my default. But, I guess 1 sometimes. Okay, let's let you flow free. Flow free. Wow, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? Okay, so let's get that straight, and let's get this. Again, we're doing a round bottom, round top. So we're going to hold that bottom bead here, fold it up, kind of keeping that bottom bead underneath my thumbnail there. Bring it up to the top. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to bend it down. Just, the one bead right up top there, right to the top. And then we're going to want to hit it because we're doing a round top. And we want it to be really round. So we're going to hit it like a 90-degree angle right there, right? And then once we get there, we're going to really tight, bring it around. Really notch that thing. Always really doing tight, lots of tension on it, like a sewing machine. Kind of rough on the joints, but trust me, I know. But it helps. Again, I'm holding that bead up here, bringing that around, bottom one, and I'm erring on the side of being too tight. So underestimate, throw one out if you're in between, if you're at like where a bead and a half would be. So there's a nice little beginning loop, for lack of a better term there. So get everything straight again. Now we're going to start bending down, right? So because here's one that I did. Basically, we want this sort of cuppage on it. And again, with this one, we don't actually care that much because we're not going to see it. We're just making something nice for the middle so it looks like, we're not trying to cheat by having nothing inside the bud. There's something going on in there. So kind of bend these down, like the shape we want to make it, right? And then working around, I kind of push this guy down a little bit so it's ready to go underneath and not to the side. And you're going like just a little bit underneath. You're still going to want to see it, right? So, just so it's slightly overlapping. And then we're hitting that again really. That's funny. Got wrapped around there. There we go. Hitting it again really straight across. Bring it around, pushing this down so it goes like right in there. Bringing this guy around. Oh, and how many rows are we doing? That's a very good question. We are doing 13 rows. That's the answer. And again, we're bringing this down. And each time we're kind of keeping this kind of bent down so that it's going to cup itself, right? We're doing sort of an extreme cup. So again, always under it. There you go. Now, the other thing with this is you can shape it. You know, you're going to be able to shape it later and get that cupped shape. So right now we've got two. And again, notice how, I know my nail polish is horrible, but just get with it. It's okay. I like it when it starts chipping. So it's just a little bit underneath. You know, it's not fully underneath. So I guess it could be cut more. And then just keep track of that. We want it to be bent down like that. Push that down in there. Pushing this in. Again, telling the wire and the beads where they need to go. Making a statement. Then I go, that might be too tight. Okay, stick a bead in there. There we go. That's better. I kind of check. This is why I'm never going to be fast at these things. Because I like check each row. I'm like, okay. Before I like finally do the wrap. Because I want to be sure. Okay, maybe not each row, but I check a lot, right? What I mean by that is like I'll like pretend that I'm going, oh, well, I think I'm going to chop it off there. Uh-oh, that's a little loose. That's a little loose for a cupped situation. So before I wrap it, I just, you know. There we go. That's the one. That's the ticket. Okay, this is very thick wire. I mean, it's 24 gauge, but again, not all 24 gauges are created equal. So again, I'm shaping as I go, kind of holding it, keeping the cup factor going. Push that down a little bit. So like make the cup, make the size of the cup. Keep that straight, bring that around. Looks like that's the one. Test it, lock it in. You know, right now it's not twisted. It's just holding the bead against the top wire. Looks good. Bring it around. How many rows did I say for this thing? 13. Okay, that means I need to do 6. See, I still think of it the way I originally started counting before I saw any books, was I would count the rows on the outside. So I'd be like a 13 thing would be a 6 row because it was 6 rows off of the center. So I still think that way. I'm like, okay, 13 means I'd have to do 6 rows off the center, which might be how many of you think about it. Okay. So again, shaping it. Look, see, I'm shaping it to be the cupping I want it to be. Okay, so right about there. This is one case where a half bead would be good. And so I'm going to cut it off. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to underestimate. And by the way to get away with that too is if you underestimate and you feel like it's going to be too tight, bend this wire over for a second, the bottom wire, and have it kind of just zhuzh to the side for a second. It's a weird little thing I do just to make sure because every millimeter changes the shape. And you won't even notice that in here that you did that, but it will actually loosen it a little bit that way. So I actually pulled this wire over a little bit so it didn't have as far to go. So it didn't get as tight as it might have. If that doesn't make any sense, just ignore it. Okay. Pull this guy under again. Let's see. And then, again, that's a little too, I keep doing a little bit too flat. So pull it out. Down we go. And this is great practice this is our last time around. No, wait, 2 more times around. What am I saying? Can I count? No, apparently not. So let's go fast. Or I could pause it. But then I'd have to let go. Sometimes I feel like I can't let go. I'm sure you guys understand. Like if I let go, the whole thing's going to go boing, like a slinky or something. Okay, let me pull up a little more beads and we are almost done. Come on down. There we go. Okay. Going around, going around. This is my last pass, right? Checking it there, seeing where it lands. Twist. Get a nice tight twist in there. That double it. Check my own counting. Yes, I'm checking my counting. Because I gotta. Okay, so let's see. I'm going around here, shaping it, like pulling that shape, see, as I go. And it looks like that's the natural stop. And twisting it around. Okay. Finish that off, twist it up. Chop the bottom off. Do not Do not chop the top off, please. Okay. So we got that going on. I mean, you can do the bottom thing. So what we're going to do now, so now we have our little cup thing here, and I made one before. Obviously, this one's a lot tighter, actually. Interesting. And that can happen with cupping. I was probably trying to go a different direction. It's not horrible. There they match up. So actually it wasn't. It just got smushed. So here's the one I made before. So now that we got our two sides, and again, if they're not perfectly, that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our tops. However, it doesn't matter how you hold these right now because you're going to turn them around the right way anyway. So whatever way is easiest. For me, it's easiest just to hold them like this so they're kind of back to back. And you want to kind of push your thumb in there because you want to get a tight twist on there, pretty close-up twist. And so we're twisting these top wires together, at least a, half inch, quarter inch, half inch down. So we're just twisting those together. And now we're going to chop them off at about, again, quarter of an inch, 3/8 of an inch to be more precise. Okay, so now that we got that going on, right, I'm going to kind of flip them so that it's open side to open side. Put that right in the middle there. And then we're going to close them up like a clam. And if one got a little bit, pull it down, make it shaped together. Now, I said in the directions you could twist these together. I actually don't normally actually shape them over the stem wire. You can do that too. You can twist them here. Now, when I first started making these, I would kind of like lace them together. But you know what? Now I just mush them. And I have no problem. It's better. I want the edges to overlap. So I'm kind of trying to close up the top a little bit. I'm trying to close up the bottom a little bit. Right? And so you can twist these together. Or even better, you can just kind of interlock them because one side will be like longer than the other just because of the way you the way you make your basic frame. So you'll see. So, or you just put them together, it's okay. And then put them straight onto the stem wire like that. And sometimes I put the stem wire just to be extra stable up in between them, and then you have to really shape around it. But you can just naturally just close them on themselves. That's why I kind of over make them. I make them like more, like for example, what I'm trying to say, over make them sounds weird. But I kind of add an extra row almost. Like if you're just doing a semicircle or half, you might just get away with just having 11 rows. But this extra row allows me to sort of sculpt it onto itself and kind of mush them together. Really get them locked in there. So we can put those onto a stem wire, and I would just put them onto a single. Come on down. I didn't actually remember I was going to do this. At this point, hopefully you can hear me. Grab a 16 gauger. Actually, I'm going to chop off about 6 inches. Make it a little bit easier to do. You go away. Okay, so I'm going to actually start kind of assembling these as I go. And you can use, and I actually have a good stem wire color that matches that, but I don't know where the heck it is right now. So I'm not even going to, my floral tape color. Holy cow, my floral tape bin is insanity. Okay, that doesn't work. I'm just going to use that tan again. Just because otherwise I'll be looking for a year. What the heck? Yeah, you can use just green. That's fine too. Well, I'm only going to use apparently 6 inches of it because I just snapped the end off. I've snapped more floral tape in this video than I have in this video series than I have as long as I can remember. I mean, you can just use green too. It doesn't matter. I have a nice dark pink somewhere in that pile, in that bin. Okay, so I'm wrapping it up, getting that nice and tight on there. And so we can just get it on there right now. I'll use this 30 gauge copper wire and wrap it on. So you can either, again, wrap these already, or you can, sometimes I will actually, because I feel like it's more stable, put the stem wire inside, but then you kind of have like that gaping hole that you have to kind of shape around, which I don't hate. Again, that's why I started doing it kind of wider. Or it's up to you. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to tell you options for what works for me. You can kind of interlock the two petal wires there and kind of strap them on right there together. And that way, or you can twist them together on their own. Either way, any of these ways works. So I'm just going to go with this direction right now. Okay, so this one's ready to go. Get it wrapped down. Now with these sort of bud situations, you can, you know, if you're going to shape them and stuff, we're not really that worried about this one here, like I said, because it's going to be inside. But again, I do kind of an extra row so that when you kind of put these things together, you can use that extra row and kind of almost overlap things and really get it so it doesn't open on its own. And it's just going to be a complete, and if you want to squish that down so it's more rounded, you can shape these, right? You can shape them and they'll look like, you know, you can make cherries, anything you want to make this round, right? And if you accidentally, which I have done and possibly did right now, get it kind of too squished in on itself, then stick something in there. This is probably this old bead scoop, which looks like I scooped hot chocolate with it for some reason. You can just get in there and pull it out, push it out again with something that gets flat in there and reshape it. No big whoop. As they used to say in the 70s, no big whoop. It's not a big whoop. Just reshape. But remember, this one's going in the middle anyway, so we're not going to get too concerned with it. Okay, so that one's waiting now for extra petals to go around it. And if you want to, I can be a bit of a stickler about things, in case you hadn't noticed. So you might even want to, just to clean up, even though you're going to put petals around it, you might want to do a little, you know, clean up there so that you really don't see any of that. Up to you, literally up to you, for the next row. I mean, the flip side of this is you can get a very thick stem from that. So it's up to you. With this one, sometimes I probably do it, sometimes I don't. So you can do that so it cleans up the wires right away and you don't see them. Or you can wait and leave them. Okay, next I was pondering what I wanted to do. Now, after doing that little inside kernel there, we're going to do 4 outer petals for this bud. And so I've already done 3, and then we'll do the 3 together. Now, these are going to be pretty cupped. So we're going to make them pretty cupped. And guess what? I actually don't lace these because when they're cupped this much, they kind of stay together pretty well. So I would say lacing is optional. And I actually like lacing, but this cupped, they really hold their shape. I mean, I've knocked these around a few times and you can see they've already stayed together. The rows are pretty consistent and have stayed together. So we're going to do 4 of these, and in the same color. And what these 4 are going to be 3/4 inch basic frames. And then I actually wanted to be slightly longer. And I know you're probably going to say, like, does it really matter? Probably not. So I do 3/4 of these and add a bead. So like basically 1/16 extra, but I didn't want to say that. So 3/4 inches and then 17 rows with these. So, where'd we go? So, and we're going to be fairly cupped with these. I mean, kind of like a shade more cupped than we did for the peonies. You know, they're going to look like that. So they're not crazy cupped. I'm not going to be making any, you know, plums or kumquats out of them or, you know, whatever, apricots. They're not going to be that round that I'm making circles, but they're pretty cupped. Hope that's making sense. Sorry, I've been doing 18 million things today. So I'm like, I hope I'm making sense. Okay, so let's try this guy. Okay. So 3/4 of an inch, and then I plopped an extra bead on there. Doesn't matter, not probably really. I don't know. And you can count what that would be for your beads if they're fairly consistent, so you'll know. Like I would go, okay, so the rest of the 4 of them, this is 5, 10, this is a 13-inch 13 bead basic frame. 13-inch basic frame. Holy cow, could you imagine? Holy cow. That's a pretty long basic frame. So that one you'd have to lace, in case you're wondering. So I'm going to just do it really cupped, just similar to that. I should like develop a cupping like scale from 1 to 10. If the peonies were, say, 4 on the cupping scale, this would be like a 6. And then something like this is like a 10, you know. we're pretty much, I guess something that's like even, well, this probably could be even more cupped. Okay, give it, I always just do about an inch by default of twisting on the bottom. Straighten that guy out. And off we go again. So you've seen me do basic frames that are cupped, so you probably don't need to see this again. Because off we go. So I'll just kind of start out. Again, holding that bead here, doing a bead here. We're doing round bottom, round top. Just like the peony petals, but 3/4 inch. And again, how many rows are we doing? 17 rows. I actually wrote it down for you guys. I must like you, because I wrote something down. Okay, so that I wasn't paying attention, and that top didn't get as round as I'd want it to be, but I'm okay with it. Just me being picky today. Okay, again, underestimating slightly. I know I'm putting my thumb over there because I'm really trying to hold things in place, but then you can't see what's going on. Okay, so there's our center bit. Now, again, we're going to bend down a little bit, not as much as we did for that center kernel thing going on there. And start wrapping around, bringing them down. Sometimes I find it easier to actually push this bead when I'm doing cupped things down, the wire down on the back end there, so that it actually can get down and beneath the row above it. And then bringing it around and just always sort of erring on the side of it being too tight. Like this one's borderline. And that's okay, because I can bring this working wire, this top wire over just a smidge, zigzag it over a bit so it doesn't get quite as tight, and so that you can see that zigzag. But then that's another thing is it's a weird thing that I've done. I haven't, it's probably frowned upon, but I'll actually move the center wire to make rows tighter or looser, and then just move them back. Like you can change that around too. This doesn't always have to be super straight. You want it to end up being like where it needs to be. You don't want to keep going, but you can move it to use it to make it something tighter or looser. Because maybe you don't want to take off a whole bead or add a whole bead. Okay, so shape as you go. We're looking at that thing, looking at the side view here. It's not looking pretty cupped yet. But again, we're not going for full cuppage here. We're going for just a little bit. Sorry, I shouldn't even really bend down the wires on this. I was still thinking of this guy. You don't even need to really bend down the wires on this, the top and bottom wires. You just need to do a slight cupping. Well, more than slight, but still not extreme. That's definitely, see, I'm testing. And I'm going to bring the wire back over for a second. So I'm bringing that wire back over that direction to even it out. Okay, looking good. To be honest, if you just kind of err with these, if you just really err on the side of being too tight each time by a bead, it'll end up being cupped the way it needs to be cupped for this style. And you can definitely shape it with this one. So don't worry about it too much. So we're going to keep going here. I have a feeling we're not going to be able to do the other bud on one video. Nope. Okay. I thought we were going to be able to do both buds in one, but I don't think that's going to work out. Okay, so again, erring on the side of underneath. And we don't want to be as cupped as if we're making the globe thing or whatever you want to call that. The olive, the cherry, whatever you want to make this round. The bud, the inner bud. There you go. Looking for a word for it. I wonder if there is a word for that shape, because I know that it's used a lot. Okay. So, going down there. And we want to go 8 rows out from the center. That's how, again, my brain thinks about it. So I might pause it for a second so you have to watch this whole thing. I think you get the gist. Again, we're not going for full cupping, so it's okay. You don't need to bend the wires down. Just underestimate and like kick out a bead from where you would go if you were going flat. That one bead will change it. So basically the same as the peony leaves, petals, the main flower petals. So I'm going to pause a moment and finish this up so we can go to the assembly part. And we're back. Aren't I fast? Just like the wind. Well, not really. Wouldn't that be lovely? We could just like press a button and then it would be done. At least that part. No, I mean, I love the actual doing of it. If not, why would you do it? Okay. So there's the last petal. Let's get this guy wrapped up and put aside. Okay. And get this together. Chop off the top. We don't need to do any center because we're going to have these free floating. They're not going to be like amped down. Now, again, you can lace these. I probably should say, yes, you should lace them. Be all like severe about it. But I'm not going to be because I didn't lace them. This one's not laced and this one's been doing fine. And that level of cupping and shaping keeps it together because also it's already tight on itself. So I'm going to say lacing optional. And you know, if you don't like it, then lace it. If that feels uncomfortable, which I get, totally get it. And then lace it. Now we're doing the same thing but we're doing that really good, doing that bottom sort of chair, the rattan chair again. This one I did kind of looser, actually. Probably should lace this guy. These I did a lot tighter. Interesting. A little off my game right now. Interesting. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Okay. And we get these together, do a little shaping up top. But notice, so here's the other three I did the other day. They're pretty cupped. Here's the side view, so you see what's going on. Now I just tamped that down too much, and it actually popped one of these bottom things off because this is such a soft wire. Not the end of the world. I've done it so much that I've tamped both off and you just end up with just this little, that's okay. That's enough to hold it stable. So that tamping thing, which I do to keep things flat on the stem wire, you definitely have to be a little careful. And I'm going to actually take this tape off because for some reason, and I think it's because this wire is I think it's a little bit puffy. It's such a weird thing to say about wire, but it feels a little different than the normal. Okay, so I have all four of these ready to go. And again, not lacing, can lace. If you lace, obviously you're going to lace so the lacing shows on the inside. So you get four of these guys, and we're going to lace these in pinwheel fashion is how I think of it. Not like two across and then two in between. Pinwheel fashion, you do one, and then you're kind of doing top, kind of an overlapping, for lack of a better way to put it. I think that's a fine way to put it, actually. So let's start with one. I normally start with the most extremely cupped one, which appears to be the one I was starting with. And again, that's just me being a little me. I rank them in terms of the, and then the most cupped. And then, I probably start it, just anywhere. It doesn't actually matter where. Just at the base here, getting that guy going. Hold this down here about 3 inches down and start wrapping. I probably shouldn't. This copper wire can break, huh? Okay, so what I mean by pinwheel now is you're going to go, over, under, kind of overlap. So this one's going to be, so that original one's here and this is going over. It doesn't really matter though. If you want to do it, 2 by 2, it's a little more bud-like to have it pinwheel fashion, meaning now again that this one went over top, so the new one's going to go slightly over top this one. Oh, sorry, I got pulled that a little bit back there. And so down we go. And then last but not least, we take this one. So it's this one, because it's going to go over this one, is going to go under. So the last one you have to kind of fit in there so that it goes under the first guy and over, but it doesn't really matter. You can always close that up later. So just get it on there, and then you can kind of work it later. So strap it on, strap it in there. Let me get some more wire out here. And then there we go. Okay. Doing a lot of wrapping, really holding that guy in there. Chop that off. And there we go. Now again, when you have this, you can then sort of just shape it. However this one was over top, so then this should be under, over. See, now I've done my over over, under kind of thing. And then you can just kind of use your whole like fist to sort of, you know, grab it and just compress it, you know, get it in that shape, you know. And we don't want it to be perfect either. We want it to just be slightly open and seeing that in bit there, but you kind of shape it first. And you want it to look like it's in the process of unfurling, you know, it's getting ready to expand. So you want it to have a little bit of randomness to it. So it's okay. Like, I like that the way this looks right now. This is good, right? Now, again, if you want to put leaves, you can wire lacing on it, you can. So I've been doing 18 things today. We're actually converting our sunroom into the new work studio area. So that will be fun. My husband's in there right now putting up the blinds on the new windows. It used to be a sunroom, so there were no windows. Just screen. I mean, there were windows, but they didn't have glass in them. No windows in a sunroom would be really weird. It wouldn't really be a sunroom then, I guess. Anyhow, so I can hear him working out there. It's right in the other room. It seems like it's going well. I'm optimistic. So now we got this done. Now we're going to do the little base thing. Now notice these base leaves are round bottom, round. Oh, I just snagged my own skin here. And then round top. Different than what we've been doing for the bottom of the flower, basically. Pretty much all the leaves so far have been pointed top. Here we're going to do a round top. And they're all actually different. There's 4. Let me bend that down so you can see it. There's 4 bits here, and they're all slightly different sizes. So you can do that or you can not. It's okay. I did to make them kind of look different. I did a 1/2 inch with 11 rows. I did a 5/8 inch with 11 rows, a 3/4 inch with 11 rows, and a 1 inch with 9 rows. Because I want it to appear like longer. This 1 inch with 9 rows, one here, longer and skinnier. And it's okay to have some gapature. I wanted that. I wanted some places where that wasn't happening. So again, I made a few of those. And those, where'd you go? I know I made you. Where'd you go? There's 2 of them. So here's 2 I made. And we'll make some together in a second. As soon as I figure out, oh, where'd you go? I see you. I see you. There you are, you little guy. Come on out. And so these, you're not going to cup too much. In fact, if you do them flat, that's okay. So I did them in the same kind of those lighter greens, that light khaki, and then also in this this kind of brighter one here. I forget what the number is again, but this guy here, the 246F Toho. So as described by black diamond yellow lined matte. Interesting. Wouldn't have guessed that, but I see it now. Okay, so the other 3 are the khaki, so I'm going to do one, and I don't even remember which ones I did so far. So that's the 4 right there, that's the 9er. And then, so I'm going to do I'm going to do the longer 11. So I'll do the 3/4 inch 11 row one. And I put this into the PDF, you know, and again, you could do, I highly recommend though you do different sizes. I really do. So I'm going to do like a 3/4 inch, and you can, you know, adapt them differently as you want, but this is pretty standard, just a quick little basic frame. Get down over there. Of course, I wrapped too many beads on this guy. There we go. Now we got some leverage. Okay. So we're going to do a quick little basic frame on this guy. Got a little twist going on there. What's up with that? Yeah. Okay. So these are probably going to be the easiest things we do because you're not even worried about cupping too much. Just naturally, like I said, err on the side of being too tight and you'll get enough cupping. On the cupping 1 to 10 scale, maybe I should make it 1 to 5. 1 to 10 seems like a lot of cupping options. But this would be like a 1 or a 2. I guess, again, depends on whether we're out of 5 or out of 10. So pretty low on the cupping scale, but still being cupped. So let's see what we got. Again, we're doing round bottom, round top. Let's do this kind of fast. And then this one's going to be 11 rows. Okay, so we're doing a tight thing, right? We're going kind of fast. And I'm just going to show you again that we're not really worried about the cupping as much as just underestimate. See, that's sticking out a little bit, so I'm actually going to underestimate and go a little bit less on this. And if you do the underestimating, you will get to where you need to go. Okay. I mean, it should be slightly cupped. Seems like everything I make is... So, see, I took out a bead here to make it under. See, because that looks like that's actually slightly too few beads. But, I want to go under my estimate. But with these, even if it comes out slightly flat, that's actually going to be okay, too. So, pull this here, pull this around, get in here. Oh, I think I just heard my my husband yell at some. There's these weird beetles that we have, and he's such a California boy to begin with, but then also kind of a city boy. So now that we live in places a little bit out of the city where there's bugs and stuff outdoors, it's a new one for him. I said, call me when the things fly at your head, like when I lived in Austin, Texas, when I was younger from California, and you get Texas flying tree roaches. I'm sure, maybe some of you are from out that way. That's why whenever anyone out in California complains about beetles or even if they see a roach, not the gross kind, but the kind that just live outside, I'm like, yeah, if they're not flying at your head, we're not having a conversation. I remember the first time that happened. And then you go and you buy house geckos, right? That you actually just let loose into your kitchen and they take care of things for you. And you never see them again. Well, not really. Unless you come out in the middle of the night and turn on the light, you might see You don't want to do that, though, in Texas. So, anyhow, I always find it funny when he's like, oh my gosh, look at that bug. I'm like, yeah, not really. But, hey, that's cool. So, anyhow, just thinking of Texas flying tree roaches. This is just that idea, a flying tree roach. Who wants to ponder that? Those are impressive insects. Yeah. There's a few things that were different when we moved to Texas, but Austin is quite beautiful. But definitely a different reality than Northern California. Now, last row, we're going around. The other thing is, when you grow up in California, you think Texas is like sand and Old West movies. And you go out there and you're like, the first time I flew into Austin, I was like, where is it? It was so green because it was the summer from all the trees. You could barely even see the town. And I was just not prepared. So before the internet, so I didn't look it up. I just literally thought it was going to be like some old Western movie, but it was so green and beautiful in the whole country there. I actually think the west part of Texas is quite beautiful also. But anyhow, back to the matter at hand. Yeah. Speaking of greens, let's get going. Yeah, I did not expect it to be covered in trees. It was amazing. And lakes, like limestone bottoms. That was one beautiful place. Okay, so we are ready now. After my slight digression into the hill country of Texas. I gotta go back out and visit soon. I miss that. Anyhow, not sure I miss the flying tree roaches, though. Oh, Lord, they're be that long, right? The largest insect I think I'd ever seen before that was probably like that, of any variety. My whole life. Even when I lived in Bucks County, I don't even remember seeing anything bigger than that. Well, they have centipedes there. What am I saying? Ooh. Anyhow. Okay, back to the matter at hand. So that's kind of a bigger one. That's cool. So we're going to stick this on here. And again, you can, up to, if you want to put floral tape down between layers, I normally do, but there's something about this rose wire that's feeling just like a little puffy to me. I don't know. I can't explain it, because if I did, it would sound weird. It already sounds weird. It would sound weirder. So I'm going to just go with, yeah, there it is. So, what am I going to use to wrap it up? I'll just use this green wire. What the hey? It's been helping us. Shoot, we're going to have to end this one soon. I don't want to... Stop uncoiling. So then just place these all around the bottom as needed. I kind of tend to put them, not completely, but like kind of where the spaces are. You don't have to. That's just my own thing. In fact, it probably looks better if you don't even plan it like that. But the spaces between the petals. But just wrap it up. Don't worry too much about what color wire you're using because you're about to cover it up. Okay. And so just place them, you know, whatever order you want to. Leave some leave there's gonna be empty space on purpose. I do not want the entire, I mean, you can, it's your flower, but I purposely planned it not to like be rounding the entire thing. I did not want it to look like that. I wanted it to just have a few remnants of opening. There we go. And then last but not least, stick you over here and put you back in this middle spot. I'm going to wrap this one up. Oh, and so these just shape them, again, just shape them so they kind of follow the bottom of the petal. So even if it's flat, you can still like shape it up. Okay, so this one's ready to go now. I'm liking it. Spin out a little bit more of that. I wonder if he's... One thing they have out here, though, is black widows. That's not cool. Apparently, it's a particularly bad year for them. That's what I heard. That kind of freaked me out a little bit when we first moved out here. I was like, black widows? I want to live where there's black widows. But you get kind of used to them. It's, it's like sharks. They're not going to bug you unless you bug them. That's not true. Sharks probably bug people that don't bug them. Let's think. Bees? Okay. Thinking of things that don't really mess with humans unless they have to. Okay. So now we got this. And now what we're going to do here is on this one, I would recommend on the buds, putting a few little leaves down here. And so I put in the PDF what leaves I did here. I'm not going to make them because we've already been doing a bunch of these round bottom pointed tops. And so for this one, I did basically, where'd we go? I did these 3 for them. And I put the options I did here. Again, I'm using those extender beads on this. And also I'm doing like kind of varying the sizes a little bit. Not too much, So I did, I think what I did with these was, I think I wrote it down in there. I did bead counts on the thing, so I'll say real fast. So instead of having to watch me do that. So like here's a 3/4 inch, 9 row pointed with, and I just varied 2, 1, 2, or however you want to do it. So there was a 3/4 inch. And this is probably another 3/4 inch, but I just did like a different like extender bead formation. So it's not even that different, and this is a 1 incher. So, and then again, they're all, these are all 9 rows. And then just kind of change it out from 3/4 inch to like, so what I normally do when I'm trying to vary is I'll start with maybe the smallest. So if I'm doing 3/4 inch, I'll see what that bead count is based on the beads I'm using right then. And then I'll throw in like 2, do the next one, that number of beads plus 2, and the next one, that number of beads plus 2, and not worry about the size after that. So on this one, then we're going to do our wrap down of our, come on back, mossy floral tape. Let's get that a little bit wrapped up. So I'm going to start at the bottom now. Again, wrap this up. I think I just did another thing. I always say sentences and then stop. I've been doing that since I was a kid, and I don't think that senility is going to help that in any way, shape, or form. So, old age. So, anyhow, I'm going to wrap this up. And then you can kind of don't worry about too much about being smooth. You can always just rub it down with the fingernail or even like, any sort of smooth thing, side of a pencil, a pen, or just go with it. Okay, so, and I'm going to put these about maybe the first one. So I'll kind of just go down a little bit with this, maybe like 3 inches or so to kind of keep everything nice and tight under there. And now, because I'm going to redo the second, now I'm going to wire on the, where was the big one? I think this was the big one, right? doesn't even really particularly, no, that's the longest one. Okay, so I'm going to wire on the 3. I think it's starting about an inch below or so, an inch and a quarter-ish. Going to make sure you kind of bend it so it's getting flush on there. Start, hold about 3 inches down there. Push that. I use my finger to push the wire right up to the base of the leaf. It's easier if it's just pushed out for now. And then maybe just space them kind of, about half an inch or so. Doesn't need to be particularly even. Don't do them straight across. Though if you do, so what? A little bit tilted. And then, holy cow, I'm hoping this is not going to be too long, that I have to cut it into 2 again. So then we just do this guy. I'm going to stick this one down here. Don't evenly space the leaves, down the middle one slightly closer to the top. I'm moving it over there more. Wrap it down. Okay, let's get that rolling. Keep going a little bit further. I can feel that I would want to, I'm just worried about timing. Tamp these down as you go a little bit, just to keep your stem wire as streamlined as, oh, there's that bead I was forgetting, as possible. Okay, so we're going to stop right about here, chop her off, and then do our final taping of the bud. Again, starting below the first leaf, hold it down, hold the tape down, wrap on itself. Don't pull it too tight until you go around maybe once or twice, because you don't want to just pull it straight off again. Go below the leaf. You can go back up above it if you really want to lock it in there. Up to you. Remember, you can smooth these out after the fact. Okay, go straight, get right down in there. Right down in there. Don't get too worried if you bend it up over the leaf again. If it gets bunched up, that's okay. You're going to come back over it again and smooth it out. Once you get under the last one, I normally just flip it over so that I can do a faster spin. And I'm going to spin all the way down to the bottom, even though I know I'm going to most likely cut this off to a shorter stem length. So let's get some extra stem, some floral tape out there, and we're rolling. So I've been seeing, by the way, some very awesome peonies showing up. Loving the personality shining through. It's hard to do this under the camera, but I want us to get to the end. So I'm like, oh look, we finished the bud. Okay, but I don't get to do it my normal way. And I'm sure this isn't helping anyway, because it's right up in the, here, look. I just realized, I'm like, oh, I'm trying so hard to do it under camera. I'm not really helping you anyway. Okay, let me actually go to the side. Because then I do it like this. I hold it on the top, and then I hold the bottom down here and kind of spin it going straight up and down. But obviously I can't do that under this camera, because I can't do it under the camera. It doesn't fit. Okay, so I'm kind of doing it kind of fast now, except I'm still having to hold it around the camera. Okay, now we get to the bottom. Chop off about, now if I were going to leave the bottom this length, I would want to, kind of cover up the bottom bit. So I always go, just like I do at the top, go a little bit past, fold it down, and then spin it back around. Again, easier without the camera on top. Spin it back around. Hello, Mr. Ruler. Where have you been? There you go, right there. Okay. So, and then just kind of tighten it down. Later on, if your stem wire, if your floral tape's too dry, you can always put a little dot of crazy glue under there and kind of hold it and massage it in there. Don't be like me, though, which might be unavoidable in this case, and glue yourself to your flower. I have done that a few times, just because I want to make sure that the floral tape does not unravel on the bottom there. Okay, and again, you can shape these guys, now that you got it here, make them pointy, shape them, give them that personality, furl them up, make them try to look like, real furled flowers. Check your side here. Do you like how these are shaped? I'm feeling good about it. I'm liking it. These guys together are ready to roll. So there we go. There's our large buds looking good. Very excited to see them again. Lacing is optional. I'm up in the air about it. Like, I could see where probably it would have been better on this one because it's not as tight as my other ones. You know, up to you on this one for sure, though, because we don't really mind it in this bud form. I don't, at least. So there you go. Next one we'll do should be faster, and we'll be doing our little bud. And then you've got all your components for your arrangement, and the rest is up to you.